What's going on YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you another video. So, recently I was looking around and I noticed one thing that seems to be pretty common, which is that Nintendo seems to be trying really hard now to do a lot more with mobile gaming. Now, this is true for like the main company of Nintendo. Obviously, there's NX, which supposedly should come out eventually. I don't know when. At E3 recently, they were very hesitant to really reveal anything because it was still very early in development, and that's also because of the fact that they didn't want any of the companies like Sony or Microsoft to suddenly start looking into it, considering what Nintendo's doing and suddenly copy them, because Nintendo typically has been a little bit behind when it comes to a lot of things for advancements in gaming, and that's why a lot of companies like PlayStation, like a lot of companies like Sony or Microsoft have always been ahead of them, because typically Nintendo releases their consoles before before Microsoft and PlayStation does, and then Microsoft and PlayStation one ups them because of the fact that Microsoft and PlayStation released them after Nintendo, so Nintendo doesn't have that opportunity to get ahead. Because of this, Nintendo now is trying to do a lot more of mobile gaming because they've always been behind in that regard. So I wanted to just talk about that a little bit. I'm not going to do anything serious with this discussion, but overall, just the idea that like a lot of these companies are trying to do a little bit more of mobile gaming. I mean, Nintendo's trying to do that, as well as also do some advancements. Obviously with their whole entire theme park area at Universal, which also was something that they mentioned at E3 that they really weren't going to talk that much about because of the fact that it was still very, very, very new. And it's clear that a lot of these things aren't going to really be mentioned or talked about specifically until probably next year. And I think that's smart for Nintendo, because if it hasn't really gotten anywhere yet, there's no reason to start things up, because it's very risky to do anything super early, because companies can start trying to run faster than you before you could really have like a really good foundation made for a certain concept. So it's better to start by not saying much until you actually have a foundation and a really good build system working, where like it can easily be developed. One of the greatest examples of something that people have been seeing recently, that a company that makes a lot of sense from Nintendo, that's trying to really advance their grasp on the mobile market, is the Pokemon company. Game Freak is trying to establish a mobile gaming community to an extent, and they're thinking, and supposedly this year they're supposed to release Pokemon Shuffle, which, as some people might know, on the 3DS it came out as a 3DS eShop game, and they thought, okay, we might want to consider releasing that game on a phone, because it looks like a phone game. Like, seriously, if I look at that game, I constantly look at it and say, that looks like a phone game. It does. It really does. I mean, it looks a lot like Bejeweled or something along those lines, and it has similar aspects to an extent that Bejeweled definitely contains, but it has a very unique Pokemon aspect that definitely stands out from, say, a game like Bejeweled, that makes it a little bit more unusual, but like fun and enjoyable, and you can definitely relate to it if you're a Pokemon fan. The other thing is that Pokemon has been known for being emulated in several different capacities in regard to being emulated as it is as a regular game, or as, say, a ROM hack, meaning a game like one that has certain changed story aspects, or what Pokemon you're able to catch, or sprite designs are different, or who knows what, but there's different changes overall, and Pokemon has been doing that for a good number of years now. Now, that's not directly through Pokemon, that's through people who have been taking the games and have been trying to change certain elements of the gameplay and making it so that it's unique and interesting to the people who play them, and it's created another gaming market, and it's not something that people really buy into. It's more like something that people can just download, but people have been definitely trying different things, because emulation these days has been pretty free overall. If you haven't noticed, on the mobile gaming, on the online network, it's pretty easy to emulate a lot of those games. Though if you're talking about like a really recent one, like anything like on the 3DS or any, and I'm talking about specifically handhelds. But if we're talking about like home consoles, you really can't do much with home consoles. Like the most recent home console game you could probably do is something along the lines of like a PS2. Maybe PS2 is like, even that's hard. Like that's really stretching it. Or even an Xbox is super stretching it. Like anything that's super recent, that's a really big stretch because of the capacity and limitations. And you'd have to have a really like advanced system, and also a lot of the programs that allow you to emulate that stuff are usually viruses that don't work at all, and they're just there to make you think, oh, I can download this, and then it turns out to be a virus, or oh, I'm going to give this money without knowing. That's why those kind of things are kind of iffy right now. But if you're talking about something that's emulated, that's like older, not as powerful software, something that like it could be handled pretty easily, fine. I mean, you could definitely emulate an N64 game. Is it going to be great? Is the frame rate going to be excellent? Not particularly. It can be good. It's not known for being good, but like you could definitely emulate an N64 game. It's not going to be necessarily the best, but you could definitely do it in a PS1 game. I'm sure you can do it. But like after PS1 or N64 or like it's like a Dreamcast or something like that, you're really not gonna have the best quality other than the handheld market. And when I say handheld market, I mean anything along the lines of early Game Boy stuff all the way up to I'd say like DS. But like once you get to 3DS or like PS Vita and all that, like, no, just don't even ask because you're not gonna get it. It just doesn't work. It's all fake. Believe me, I've tried downloading some of the like the 3DS ones and all that, and I mean there's a recent thing going around that apparently there was someone that finally managed to get a 3DS emulator to finally work to an extent, which is great, because if it does end up working and it works well and it isn't something that looks kind of iffy and it kind of has like this potential but it's not really there yet, it's not going to really help them in the end. Because the thing is that it needs to be good. If you're gonna play the game, you want to be able to play the game. You don't want to just be able to see it and say, okay, this is working at a terrible frame rate. It's moving, but not by much. I mean, it has to be able to start up. It has to be able to play. You have to be able to play it for an extensive period of time. You have to be able to, I mean, if you can, play it for several hours and see, oh, there's a continuous frame rate that looks at least somewhat desirable. And it's one of the big things about emulation, which is the fact that a lot of emulators really are limited in regard to what they are able to process and handle, and unless you want to get one of the full games on and this is when it comes to like online, when it comes to purchasing games like off of Steam or some other site, that's usually your best alternative. Even then, it can be a little bit hard depending on the software, but usually if you have a at least decent computer, you should be able to handle it to an extent, and you should be able to work with it fairly well. I mean, there's always potential. So overall, that's about that. There's not much else I can think of. I'm just trying to think for a second here. Well, yeah, so that's all happening. So the NX is something that people are definitely speculating that could be really helpful for Nintendo's market, and really could boost their sales overall. And if things work out positively, we could be seeing some awesome stuff. But it's still very early, and it's still we really don't know much of anything about the NX at this moment. The NX is basically like this hidden project that, I mean, it could be something major, but we're really uncertain right now about what it is going to develop into. So that's about that. I can't think of much else at this very moment about what else I'd like to talk to. So I guess that's about it, guys. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also check out all the other awesome content on this channel. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. So anyway, guys, this has been Crazy Samurai 71 and signing out, and Goodbye.